This is the Orca Boat Shop, and my name is Rod, and I'm working on the Acorn sailing skiff, and we're ready to start planking this thing finally. So the process of making the planks to fit around this compound curve, we first have to make some patterns, and that's usually what is referred to as spiling in boat building. So that's what this episode will be about, and hopefully we'll get one or two planks on. Alright, let's get started. In preparation for making a pattern for the first plank, the garboard plank on the hull, I've cut some 1/8 cheap just cheap ply. Well, it's not so cheap anymore actually. It's kind of doubled in price in the last year. Into cup 2-inch strips or 2.5-inch strips, and I'm going to just nail these down to the forms, and I need to nail them so that this strip is straight. I cannot twist it and force it into an arc. I need to make sure that it is running perfectly flat on one edge straight through. This will represent the actual plank laying down on the workbench that I can cut the plank out, or the first plank out of. So I'm not forcing any strips to do anything that they don't want to do. And I've just kind of positioned it enough. See, now I need to twist this up into here, which is not really what I wanted to do. So I'm going to nail it onto the transom here. I'm just going to pull these nails and see what happens here, where it wants to lay. Probably should have started at the transom. I'll actually move this up the transom a little bit, starting over, a bit more towards the middle. If I just kind of pull on this, I'll get a sort of a straight line around the one edge. I might even consider cutting this shorter, putting a smaller piece in here, laying flat and overlapping. I'm just going to hot glue in. I'll need to hot glue a shorter piece to the bow end to get it to come around. So this doesn't have to be a perfectly straight piece, it just has to be laying down without it edge setting or moving around as it's being twisted. Just cut a piece here. I don't know whether my hot glue is hot yet, but I will need to glue this down into a straight line onto the stem. So I'm just looking to see that this top edge here, or the inside edge of this batten, is pretty well straight to the eye. If I was to take a ruler, straight edge through here, it should still be a straight edge. The objective here is to determine the distance from that edge to where the plank end is going to land up here, or the plank edge is going to land up on the center of the hog here at every station. And there's several ways we can do that. First is with calipers. It's kind of the old-fashioned way of doing it. It's not the way I'm actually going to do it, but I'll just go through the simple process of making the marks on this piece here, distance to the center line and distance to where the plank land ends. The old school method is using the calipers, and the first thing I will do is mark across here a straight line that represents that this is form number A7, number 7 form. Then you take your calipers, it doesn't matter where you place it, maybe we place it right on that line somewhere towards the center of this plank. You're going to push it in, spin the calipers out and spread them out until you're going to the center of where the edge of the plank should be meeting the hog. Spin it over to the side here, press it in, it's a little bit off, and we make a mark. That tiny dot represents a distance. This distance is the same distance as going out here. We'd circle that so we don't get confused with holes from nails. That goes out to that dot, and that goes up towards the center. Then we can repeat the process for marking off to the bottom edge of the plank on the line that's marked on the form. Spin it the other direction, make a mark, and then we indicate that there's your hole. That hole goes down, goes into that hole there. We'll then repeat that process for every form, and that will give us the shape of the distance from here to here on this form and all the forms through. And when this is laid down on your actual plank, you can retrace it by putting your caliper back into that dot, that little hole, finding the hole over there, spinning back and marking your plank. I've taken some of the leftover thin 1/8 ply, and I've cut a whole bunch of long thin strips, cut them into shorter strips, and then on my disc sander I've just made some various little pointers of various lengths. And the next step is to take that pointer, bring that pointer up so that it touches or marks the outside edge of that plank. We're just going to put a little hot glue onto there. And stick it down. And you can use a shorter one. Come down the bottom here. So I'm just trying to have the end of the pointer dead center on the form itself. We'll do that for each station, and that's going to give us the basic shape from all of the planking. I could just do this edge of the plank to where it meets the center line on the hog. I could go to my actual stock, cut that out, lay it down, see how it works, and when I'm happy with that edge that's there, could possibly just reach underneath and mark on the where the plank land ends on the forms. Usually what I end up doing is just cutting out one side of the planking anyways for going too far. So you're leaving extra planking edge over this side. On this particular form, I actually got this over top of the end of the plank land there. So I've just got the one stick on there, but I can reach in underneath and just make a mark there where it would end. It's probably somewhere in there, but I'll transfer that mark from the back side. On the stem end, I've got the 2 points here. I just need the point on the lower portion of the plank here. The rest of the plank can just overhang the stem. I can trim that down later when the outside stem goes on. Very similar to here. A lot of the planking could actually just extend beyond the top here. So I'm not really going to be too worried about the accuracy of these points here. They can extend past the center line, and I can just trim that off when the plank's in place. Once all the sticks are hot glued on, it's just time to remove the batten and see if we can lay it down flat on a piece of board and kind of help us determine how wide the board needs to be to make the curves and the shapes required. So the one piece wide fits on this garboard strake. Now that I have my pattern made from the boat with the little sticks, I'm going to make a full-size pattern with some of the 1/8 ply just to see how this will fit. But I need to make it longer, so I'm just going to very quickly hot glue some pieces together here to make 12 feet, which is enough that I will need for make a full plank. I have my spiling pattern onto the 1/8 ply that I hot glued together to make 12 feet, and I'm just going to tack it down. I'm just going to sight down the batten to sort of see if it's got a nice smooth curve to it. It's definitely not a straight line. It's a bit curved on the ends. Should be relatively straight through the center. So I'm just looking at it now, and I think I'm going to release a few nail hole or nail spots and see what'll happen. That looks a little better. Now that I'm happy with the curve, I can draw out the line. Then I will repeat that procedure for the other side of the plank. I'll check on that curve. Looks pretty smooth. I think I'm going to go with that. I think I'm okay now to take the pattern off and my batten off, and then I will cut this pattern out, see how it matches up to the boat, fine tune it. And then once I'm happy, I can take it to my raw stock planking and cut out a plank. It's likely not visible on the camera, but I have my pattern made. I'm just going to take it to the bandsaw and see if I can cut this out. If not, I may have to take it to the jigsaw because it's kind of big and I don't want the plywood breaking. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to feed it through the bandsaw. Okay, I admit in cutting that bottom edge there, which is the shear side, shear edge of that plank, that I wasn't too accurate. I always want to leave a little bit extra because I don't know whether it's going to land perfectly where it is. I may have to shave a little off of here, and I don't want to end up too narrow. Now on the top side here, I'll probably be I'll go a little slower and be a little more accurate. Now for the moment of truth. We shall see. I mean, there's a lot of trimming that needs to go on yet, but this will just be our initial fit. See if we're on the right track. Now I can tack it down here as well to where I think it's supposed to be going. So it's just a matter of massaging this plank down. It shouldn't be buckling. So if I force it all down, it's touching all of the tops here, top here. There's a bit in there. That's going to go down, no problem. But we're not causing a massive buckling. I'm over all of the plank landing marks, which is good. I mean, I've got material to shave off. It's almost as if this whole plank should be shifted up a little bit, but that's okay. Now that I have the first pattern made for the garboard plank, I am now able to take that pattern to my actual cedar planking stock and cut that out and fit it on the boat. I think that's all we're going to cover in this episode. I just don't want to make the episode too long because it is quite a process of patterning the planks, making the planks, installing the planks, doing all the fine tuning. So I hope to get another video out real quick on the whole process from start to finish, kind of really showing it almost like in a time-lapse sort of thing very quickly of how it goes from pattern to plank. So thank you very much for watching again. Stay tuned for the next episode. Do consider becoming a subscriber. You can hit the bell button up there and maybe give us a like. Thank you very much.